failure is a condiment that gives success. It's flavors, You never enjoy the taste of success, unless you've actually failed. I come from a very humble family. We worked on barefoot, to school. And then I worked in rural areas. And then fortunately, I got a scholarship to study at Canada.
And I was in Saskatchewan.
I was in Saskatchewan, yes. Yeah. Coming from a very poor background, coming to an industrialized Canada, I had to learn a lot. You can just come here and say, what? I had never tasted pizza.
Yeah.
In 2003, that's when I went into private practice. For years, we've actually developed that clinic to be what it is now.
One thing we've discussed is how much you see dentistry as an artistry.
What is interesting for me is that I am still in practice even now when there is so much change. There's so much change. I am doing 80% of new things now. Some doctors from America came to Swaziland and they wanted to do community work. So we did this for a few years until we decided that no, we can actually do it as local people,
Yes.
local doctors. And now it's a huge project, where we see lots and lots of patients. It's not just dentistry. We have now actually established that we know we can actually invite medical doctors.
Yes. How hard was that to bring to life?
It's very difficult to motivate other professionals. We persevered so that others can actually see the beauty in this thing.
You take a very grassroots approach to development. It starts with the person. I am in control of what I can control.
Yeah.
And what I do here and the people I'm able to help, that fixes this circle around me and this bubble.
You do what you can do as an individual. I think, for me to come back in Swaziland, there is so much change that I've done as an individual.
Yes.
You see, in Swaziland, you still find cows lying on the road.
A lot.
I mean,
You got it'd be kind of scary.
if you are an African and you are out in the diaspora, I think it's okay. It's good. The experiences that you gain there are very important for the development of the country, your original country. But you have to come back again. I've got a very long history now, looking at the number of years that I've gone through up to this far, I come from a very humble family, with equal or less privileges, like most of the young people that are growing up these days now. I went to a school called Salesian. Salesian is actually one of the, it was a very good school at the time. It was, pretty good. If I look at it now, I think I had the privilege of going to that school, even though I was from humble beginnings, you see. Without shoes, we always had short trousers. We walked on barefoot, to school. And those are the experiences that we had. And the only time that I started wearing a long trouser was at high school, where it was compulsory, someone would ask me, what made you choose dentist? When I went for an interview at the scholarship selection board, I thought I was going to do agriculture, and one of the interview viewers asked me, what would you like to choose between, dental hygiene and agriculture, because I was good in biology, Yes. So I just thought, since I know agriculture and I've been good in agriculture and I know the profession that I will follow in agriculture, let me go for dentistry.
When I just do
Something different. And the reason why I chose dentistry was because it was the only profession that I didn't know much about.
your curiosity drove you.
Yes, so that's how I went into it, Yes. But it's been a very long journey to eventuality. And now I understand what dentist is all about. That's when they started, I started dental hygiene, did a diploma in dental hygiene at the university now, actually the university or the Institute of Dental Sciences at the time. Yes, and then I worked in rural areas far, and typical rural areas. Sometimes, when I think of the place that I worked, I just think, oh my goodness, is that me? Yes, because where I when I worked in a clinic. Yeah, the clinic uh, did not have much. I had instruments. I had to do extractions for the patients, relieve pain, and go to the schools, teach children on good oral health, preventive measures. Um, yes, and it was a tough and strenuous job because every time I had to travel, I used the bus. But can you imagine taking a bus with that metal plate, a metal trunk box with instruments, items, you know, uh, there was not enough transport at the time. For instance, we'll wake up early in the morning at 5, so that I'll come back at around 7 p.m. Not because I will be busy working, but because there was not enough transport to come to the area. And then fortunately, I got a scholarship to study Canada. And I went to the School of Better Therapy, where I studied, that it was a different environment studying.
And I was in Saskatchewan.
I was in Saskatchewan. Yeah. I went to the program of the data therapy. That it opened doors for me, because coming from a very poor background, coming to, an industrialized Canada, I had to learn a lot. And I had to change. For instance, Jack, I can just give you an example. What I had never tasted pizza for years. I'm not really sure whether was it because I had, there was no pizza in Swaziland, but I don't believe so because I think maybe I had never gone to places where they would sell the pizza. Let me say, pizza was for the elite. So
You didn't have your 10-cent slice.
So that's how it happened. So yeah. But I later know when I was in Canada, the lifestyle, I had friends, you know, some came from Africa and they remained in Canada, but I came back to Swaziland and I worked in clinics, and then health centers and hospitals. And then eventually I became a lecturer at the university. I started teaching.
I wanted to ask right before that journey time in Canada, because that sounds like such a pivotal moment. You're coming from humble beginnings. Now you're going to cross the world. Effectively, it's really cold, by the way. Like the weather itself is a big shift. But even I can imagine the lifestyle. You mentioned the pizza. Can you maybe speak more about your experience there while you were a student living out there? What was that like during that time period? Yeah.
It was different. It was nice. I mean, just imagine, I never thought students would own cars. My colleagues were driving cars. You know, but anyway, there is something that I owned. I own a bicycle. I own a second-driven bicycle.
When you say, is it bicycle or is it like a motorcycle?
No, not a motorcycle.
Okay, yeah.
Compromise. So it's just a drop of a bicycle. But it was beautiful that at least I could travel from some place to bicycle. And if I wasn't walking, you know. But another thing that I discovered that Saskatchewan is a very flat place. Sometimes you'll miss your directions. The sun comes in a different direction in Canada.
Yeah.
So if you walk, yes, you have to read the streets. That's what was quite interesting for me. But that's I had to learn that you have to know where you are going, you know, by reading the streets. But in Swaziland, you look where there's a mountain. Yes, and the sun comes from this way, and that's from the east. So if you face east, you're on the right direction. But in Canada, it's so flat that you can't tell what's east from west. And you don't know whether you're going east or west.
Same.
So you get lost.
Easy.
And sometimes you walk around and you find that you this is where you started. you know. So the streets and the buildings and, yeah, but it was beautiful. And the lifestyle was different. So this is what I liked about it. Yeah.
So coming back now, having completed your studies in Saskatchewan, you've now moved back to Swatini, and you're about to say you effectively started as a professor, if I'm not mistaken, at a university.
No, not really a professor. I was more of a teacher. Okay. Yeah, a teacher, that's my.
Okay. Yeah. What drove you to the education space? Out of curiosity, initially, like what made you want to be a teacher?
I was forced to do it because there was the need, there was a need for people of my caliber who had actually studied in Canada to continue teaching in Swaziland, and the experiences that I had, working in the, in rural clinics and also working in hospitals. And so I was supposed to come and teach the dental hygiene program. And also I was very, helpful in assisting in teaching the nursing cadre also. So yeah, because there were so many things that intertwined together. So
How would you say your perspective of Swaziland changed between before you left for Saskatchewan and after coming back? How would you say your perspective had evolved?
okay, there has been a complete change in Swaziland. Swaziland is no longer the Swaziland that was, is no longer is now, I'll just give you an example that, because of electricity, electricity changes everything. It actually is it's the core of development. I grew up in a community where there was no electricity. So without electricity, you had to go and collect water in the river, and also without electricity, it meant that, if you've got meat, you have to hang it so that it can be dried up. You had to eat all of it. So if you've got meat, you have to make sure that it's enough for that particular time. So meat was not actually the most, something that was always available, because you can't actually keep it in a refrigerator.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't store it properly. You see now, electricity now is almost, it's more than 80% of Swaziland is electrified now. So what can I say? Because we do have refrigerators, we do have deep freeze. We do. Life has changed. It has changed so much. What can I say is different from now from you in Canada? Like, yeah, we use electric stoves now. Uh, so things have changed.
I think the biggest change for us is probably social media and honestly TikTok. It's
Oh yeah, you see, yeah, all these have changed, and we, even though we are slower at it, the other generation, we are slower at learning it, but you can see that the pace that it is actually going, it's just so vast. You see. Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of pace of change, the one conversation we had beforehand, and skipping a few steps right now, but coming from your education or your teaching standpoint, you've then gone on to establish effectively your own dental practice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Before I go there,
Please.
because okay, I've been to school so many times. I went to the medical to the medical university, which is called Medusa Medical University, in South Africa. It's called Medusa. So that's where I did my dentistry. Because I've been studying and studying and studying, until when I came back, that's when I started thinking of, yeah, maybe I should go into private practice.
Yes.
So this is when I started my private practice. In 2003, that's when I went into private practice, worked with a dentist just for 1 year, and then started my own the following year,
Wow.
which is MT Dental. MT means Musa Tetelela. That's my name.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then you see, another thing is the fact that my wife was also a dental hygienist. So she had to be. So when we started the practice, we studied it together. But you see, I decided that no, she should go back to school and study. She did uh, medicine. What they call it? It's a BSc medical sciences, so she studied that and she completed it, and then she did a master's in business studies, and then now we work together. First, she started working as a hygienist. We operated the practice together. She'll see patients, I'll see patients, and then refer. You see,
How important is that unity between yourself and your wife, coming and starting this business together? Because I've heard two stories. I've heard it being done and it causes clash, but it seems like you guys have a lot of harmony
oh yeah,
working one.
I mean, we work together. Even now, we work together. She is on the business aspect of things. I'm on the practical aspect of things. So I concentrate on my patient. And she concentrate on administration. Now MT Dental, we've hired. We had 3 practices. At the time. There was a time when I had a doctor from England. To join me, and then I had a doctor from South Africa. Afrikaans speaking. So to cater for for the people that may like to speak Afrikaans. You see, right now I've hired someone from Cuba, so we are working together, and I've reduced the practices to 2, instead of 3.
How long were you? So you subbed in 2003. How long did you have 3 practices for? At what point did you get to that scale?
Okay. Yeah, what can I say? I worked for more than 5 years, and then I decided to open. Anyway, it was a request from my partners that are working. I was working in the hospital. Wanted me to join them as they opened another practice in Matapa. But then I discovered that no, I can't work there because of the clientele was not good, or we had not done proper studies on the clientele.
Research on the market.
So we decided to leave, and we got Corner Plaza, which was a little bit better. But then we remained with 3 practices. That's it. Yes. But looking at the the community, looking at where, the place where we actually, they were all different. Yeah, Mbabane was more for people that were coming from far away. They could use buses to come to the area and walk through the surgery. Mbabane Clinic, it was a little bit out a bit, so it's people with a transportation of their own, like cars and stuff like that. And Corner Plaza was coming from the area that has got farms, the farmers, and so you can see that there was actually those differences. So with the years, we've actually developed that clinic to be what it is now.
Incredible.
And I believe that the most important thing in at MT Dental Services is the fact that we look at these tools that we use. We want them to be updated to the standards at the present moment. You see, so we look at what is available in other countries.
I think it's exciting because we now transcend from Dr. and Tetwa, your personal upbringing, to now your professional life. And in that, I know that one thing we've discussed is how much you see dentistry as an artistry, right?
Yeah.
The craftsmanship, like you're shaping dudes and whatnot. But there's a balance, is what you just said, between that and the technology that powers it.
Yeah.
So how do you build that relationship between you being effectively an artist in what you do, mixed with this like innovator or pioneer?
There is so much. I mean, these things intertwine. I know that things are changing so rapidly. Everything is now getting more computerized. For instance, a crown. Instead of actually doing it with your hand and designing it and putting it in, now it's actually done by a computer. So what is interesting for me is that I am still in practice even now, when there is so much change. There's so much change, and it's this computer world is going at such a fast pace, in such a way that even though we do attend these refreshers, continuing dental education, still there is so much research that is going on out there. And you look at, dentistry is actually very fascinating. And every day there is something that is coming in. And you can never be up to date, never be up to date. Dentistry, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you're in this practice. You're effectively running these different practices now, and you're establishing your reputation as someone who's extremely skillful at what they do in the breast community. And one of the discussions we had as well was this notion of failure, right?
Yeah.
The idea of, sure, you excel and you do great, but in order to get there, you need to fail along the way. And you had a quote that I really liked that I want you to say it if you don't mind.
Yeah. Okay. There is actually one saying that I like, that say failure is a condiment that gives success its flavors.
Yes.
You never enjoy the taste of success,
Yes.
unless you've actually failed. And, to say you've done so much, and it actually gives you the oomph, it gives you the energy to keep on, trying, So I'm thinking that experience is about how many times you've fallen down and walking, and took over again and walked over, you see, and do it again, And also, I'm thinking that also experience also is dependent on the resourcefulness of your surroundings, the doctors that your colleagues, because you can never be on your own. You work with others who have got more experience, than you, or someone can do something better than you. So if that person you think is you can even come and go to him and ask him about a particular procedure that you didn't do well. And through those conversations, that's how you actually learn over and over and over again. You see, what I can just say now is that as someone that studied dentistry, I am doing 80% of new things now, than I learned at school. So I'm feeling that, school was more of a way of becoming more teachable.
Yes.
So I've learned to be more teachable and even though I've been attending courses, I've been attending refresher courses, I've been more teachable, and I humble myself to discover how vast dentistry is.
That's
It's huge.
it's an interesting perspective to have because, of course, as you know, like with pressure from artificial intelligence, all these things kind of come into fruition. There's been a question as to what the role of the traditional establishment is today.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you is there's this skill set that you craft, that you own, learn in school, which is learning, right? The idea of learning intentionally and carrying that along the way goes a long way of developing yourself.
Yeah, I'm thinking dentist is about dexterity. It's all about your hand. Teach yourself how to use your hand. But things have changed now. The hand is now the artificial intelligence. But that's the beauty of it now. But what I can assure you is that there are times when you get such a complicated case that you have to think how to go around it. So that's where my skills come back again. Uh, now we use digital X-rays to take X-rays. But since I still have those developers, those X-rays that you can actually wash and
Put up on that.
it's I think it's a skill that is supposed to be there, and it should not stop you. I mean, these computers are nice, but if it doesn't work sometime, the computer just shuts off at a certain point in time and you can't continue. So now the skills that you have will say, okay, now I can actually solve something. And most of the time, the skills will help you solve a lot of problems that you are going to face in life. Yeah. Because it's not just about what you learned at school. It's about actually how you can maneuver, and solve a problem.
100%. Critical. You would have been owning these practices and operating as a dentist for more than 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
And effectively, while you were going about becoming the best professional, you're also very intentional about making sure you're always contributing to your community. And that looks like supporting the kids to make sure they understood the good dental hygiene practices. That looks like the people you employ as well. That looks like how you go about building almost a collective movement, a global movement, if you will, to bring that shoot to Swaziland. I want you to speak about that.
I think I've been very fortunate. I've worked with Rotary. Rotary is actually an international organization, that believes in, giving back to the community. This thing started as some doctors from America came to Swaziland and they wanted to do community work. And they brought in very, very complicated equipment, to work, in the country. And we were invited to jump in. There were so many doctors that had volunteered their services into that, from some from America, some from Russia, some from other countries. So it was just a contingent of doctors, So they will open a big hall, and then it was a surgery, full of doctors, highly professional doctors in that setting. So we did this for a few years until we decided that no, we can actually do it as local people, local doctors. So we started working together as calling all the doctors in Swaziland and going out to the communities and working with the community people.
And these are services you give for like a discount price, or is it free for these individuals?
So what we thought of doing was that no, we should give them free of charge, because if I'm in private practice, it will be very difficult for some of the people that are in the rural areas to afford the service that I offer in my private practice. So then we will call all private practicing doctors to come together so that we can actually offer their services. And now it's a huge project, where we see lots and lots of patients. It's not just dentistry. We have now actually established that we know we can actually invite medical doctors, and not just general practitioners, specialists, yes. So we just set up at a particular place and we offer all the services, for the whole week.
How hard was that to bring to life? Why did I ask that is in all parts of the world, you hear of these people who are like very motivated to do these kind of initiatives, but oftentimes they unfortunately don't get off the ground or reach the scale that you were able to accomplish. So how did you get to that point?
It's very difficult to motivate other professionals, more especially your colleagues, because they think that, for every services that they offer, they need to be paid for, paid for those services. But you see, I'm thinking that, what we did we persevered, the few that were there, especially me being the organizer. So I had to make sure I collect my staff. I bring my staff, and I bring my, the equipment that I had, so that others can actually see the beauty in this thing, So that, and another thing that I learned, by doing these community projects was the fact that if you work together as professionals, there are things that you learn from them. You do this like this. Then you exchange the skills, and then you say, there is a lot of learning involved. By merely school. Yes. Yeah. The way you interact with patients, because there's a tendency that once you get experience, you do shortcuts, and then some shortcuts, they become the right procedures for you. And yet sometimes if you don't see others doing it the right way, you'll always think it's the right way of doing it, until you remember that, oh no,
That's that critical fact.
yeah, we are missing a lot of steps.
Yes.
So coming together has got a lot of advantages.
Yes. As you know, I'm from Montreal, Canada, born and raised effectively. And
Yeah.
so I was saying before, I have a lot of friends who, when I was in university, came from different countries, from the continent. So Nigerians, Zimbabweans, South Africans. And they would always talk about this desire to, in their education in Canada, go back home and build these initiatives that would help support local economic development, which has been a really big topic these days.
Yeah.
And you're an example of someone who's done that successfully, effectively, right? So I want to know your stance on that. Like, how do you see the idea of local economic development?
I had a friend of mine, we were studying together in Canada. He got married in Canada, and I remained there in Canada, and I came back to Swaziland. I think for me to come back in Swaziland, there is so much change that I've done as an individual.
Yes.
You see, number one, my home area, my homestead, for instance, I had to destroy all the mud houses that we had, and then I built better houses, and then I put electricity, it's a modern place now, as I speak now. And imagine if I didn't come back, and look at the number of people that are dependent on me now, so many, and they are dependents also,
100%.
there are so many, I contribute so much to the development of the country. And if you look at developing country-wise, I contribute so much, as an individual. So it's good that people go to these countries, the people that are in Canada, for instance, they've learned the culture, they learn about the good things of doing things, but why can't not come back and improve? Because we learn from others, and the experiences that people get from being out of their country, it actually develops the people there, So I'm thinking, if you are an African and you are out in the diaspora, I think it's okay. It's good. The experiences that you gain there are very important for the development of the country, your original country. So, but we have to come back again, Yeah. You see now, for instance, you still in Swaziland, you still find cows lying on the road. You know, um, I mean,
You had to spoil a few. It can be kind of scary.
so I mean, it's just a matter of timing, that someone has to say, no, for you to have cows out of the road, you need fencing, and once you put the fencing, you should not cut the fence. You understand? So people will be stealing the fence that is put there. So that's why cows will be on the roads. So it's the mindset. So we need the people to be more people that that know the culture in other countries, in developed countries, because you develop because you copy from others. Yes.
And you take a very grassroots approach to development. It starts with the person. I am in control of what I can control,
Yeah.
and what I do here, and the people I'm able to help, the businesses I'm able to start, people I'm able to help with infrastructure, that fixes this circle around me and this bubble.
Yeah.
And then you do the same thing next to me.
Yeah.
And you fix your bubble. And collectively, that's when we see things actually.
Yeah. You do what you can do,
And
as an individual. Yes.
And I think that the people are, and I can speak to my generation, we're predisposed to thinking really big.
Yeah.
I need to be the president to do anything for this country.
Yeah.
Versus I can come in with what I know and have and the skills I have right now, and still contribute.
Yes.
And be very, very impactful.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do.
I mean, thinking outside the box, if we can actually have that notion, that as we grow in life, we have to think outside the box. It's nice to know that you keep left. I know in Canada you keep right.
I've been had to. Well, I was driving here a few times, fix that, but Peter and Rister.
Yeah, you keep left, you keep right. But you see, you can actually do things differently. Yeah, why not keep right?